So here's a little bit more of a discussion of the criteria individually. Honestly, I think that impact is the most important one. That's why we have it first. Because a $500 cost savings pales in comparison to a $10,000 cost savings. At the end of the day, we have to be focusing on what's going to drive the most value to our customer or to our organization if we're doing this for ourselves. It really does take a lot of focus to achieve any cost savings program. But if you're going to focus your areas in one area or another, it really should have the most impact. I mean, Rick, you've seen this over the years where it takes just as much time in some cases to get 10 cent per piece conversion for 100 pieces than it does if you get a dollar conversion on 10 pieces or whatever the case may be.
No, absolutely. I mean, your situation, everybody's got limited resources, so you typically can't do everything. You got to prioritize what's and that's based on impact. Yeah. What's the impact it can have? If it's only going to save $100 versus $10,000, well, obviously you want to concentrate on $10,000 with your limited resources.
Assuming the rest of the criteria add up, right?
Yes, I was just going to ask that. Is it difficult sometimes with some customers who see dollar signs in their eyes, but maybe they're not realistic goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So, each of the 5 criteria work together to be able to evaluate and prioritize initially and obviously reprioritize. You're always going to learn new things as you go into the process. These are potential opportunities by their very nature until you get into the details, until you really start getting stakeholders involved and other resources and testing the limits of the theory of the cost savings opportunity you have. So it could be a great impact. It could get a lot of traction internally and externally, but then maybe another factor, another criteria will rear its ugly head and say, yeah, well, maybe it should be deprioritized for now. It could be temporary, it could be permanent. So this is an ongoing project management type of approach where you have to constantly reevaluate for your priorities. And Rick, to your point, you can't do everything all at once. No. It's impossible. So when you come up with a lot of potential opportunities, you have to have a way to evaluate them for where you spend your time.
So feasibility.
It's got to be considered. I mean, there's been so many times where you can come up with a great idea that has a great impact, and it all sounds like something you should be pursuing until you really sit down and analyze it and say, I'm not even sure I can get this done. There have been plenty of times in the past that you would have to redirect yourself because of a barrier. So Rick, we've seen this with many customers over the year.
Many times. I mean, we quite often present opportunities, we'll just say with $20,000 worth of cost savings opportunity, but they need to shut a line down for a week to make it happen. And that costs them a lot more than $20,000. So there's no feasibility to it. It just gets pushed to the side, or hopefully at some point in time you save that opportunity and combine it with other opportunities on that line, if you will, as I'm referring to. Mm-hmm. And so you basically aggregate the opportunities and run them together, because there is a cost, to
doing that,
to shutting
them
down.
Or perhaps even if you want to change a supplier or manufacturer of a part or anything in the process, the qualification period may take upwards of 2 years.
Yeah, I think once again, it always depends. So you're referring a little bit to duration.